Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show. I'm Atiq Ahmed Bhatti, a fourth generation homeopath with over 25 years of professional experience and practice in this field of healing. The Homeopathy Health Show is the online voice of homeopathy around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing, which is suitable for all ages, young and old. Every week I invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights, and essentially talk all things homeopathy. Why not visit www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast button to listen to the latest episodes. So let's begin today's show here on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. Hi and welcome to another episode of the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network, and of course I'm your co-host Atiq Ahmed Bhatti.
And I'm Naila Chima.
And it's going to be another brilliant episode. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, before we go through that, I just want to remind you, if you go to ukhealthradio.com, you will have a look at some of the recent episodes. So there's some that you just have to listen to, okay? Dr. Jan Scholten's been on recently talking about autistic ferns and his research. Ian Watson has been on talking about the voices of the vital force, gifts of the mother, with Elise Timmerman, no doubt. And actually, I must mention here that if you go to homeopathyinpractice.co.uk, you'll see us an exclusive masterclass with Elise Timmerman on gifts of the mother, covering the metrodonal remedies in 7 layers. And it is absolutely brilliant. So do go and check that out. Now, earlier this year, we had Kobe Nehushtan, and he was talking about homeopathy and the somatic code. Ton Jensen, as far as homeopathic detox therapy is concerned, has been on a trilogy, and I do love trilogies, just like the spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood. Oh my, that music. I should actually put that on the show, shouldn't I? Anyway, I digress. So Ton Jensen was on, and this was called Fighting Fire with Fire. And the one and only Peter Terminello, living legend, Gemstones. A fantastic episode indeed. And one more I just really want to mention is Robert Field, who's the chancellor for one of the schools in the US. And he talks about the spiritual vital force and how the soul is able to adapt to the homeopathic signature, the doctrine of signatures as far as the remedies are concerned. It's one certainly not to be missed. And hey, guess what? There is another one not to be missed, and that's actually today's. And I do laugh because I'm really, really excited for 2 things, and I'm going to mention those to you. Joining us on the Homeopathy Health Show today is the brilliant Dr. Khush Mark, and she is a clinician, she's an educator, and a passionate advocate for truly holistic health. And she is a PhD in oncology. Yes, you heard me right, PhD in oncology from King's College in London in the UK. Now, she's also the founder of the new School of Nutritional Medicine, where she's raising the next generation of health practitioners with a focus on the person, not just the protocol. And she has a background, of course, in not only nutritional therapy, but homeopathy. And that's why she's on the Homeopathy Health Show. But, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't stop there. And I'm still going to carry on talking. Get ready for this. She is Khush Mark, the author of the incredible practical guidebook called Rapid Relief Homeopathy, which is fast becoming a go-to resource for parents, practitioners, and health-conscious individuals. But even more exciting, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it can get more exciting than it is already. Brace yourselves. One of the contributors is my delightful co-host, Naila Chima. And that's going to be so good because as my co-host, I'm going to ask her questions as well today. But enough of that. Dr. Khush Mark, welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show.
I have to say
Thank you for having me.
I have to say something. I'm a big fan of Khush. I have to say, I have been following her since I started my homeopathy journey, and 3 years back, I couldn't even think of sitting with her, interviewing her, or contributing to a dream that she has now in our hands, a big, beautiful Rapid Relief Homeopathy book. I'm absolutely
It's a
Like
big book, and I
it's
tell you what, it's really,
big.
really heavy. But that means, you know what that means? That means it's quality, okay? Nice pages, good paper, quality paper, doesn't fold easily. And do you know what? It's going to be on your desks for years. It's so, so good. But we're going to talk about that. Let's actually welcome Kush first, and let's hear from her.
Welcome.
Welcome to
Welcome.
the Homeopathy Health Show. Woohoo!
Welcome.
Thank you, Naila. Thank you, Attic. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you. And yeah,
Brilliant. No, welcome. It's been such a delight, and like I said to you, we do talk about you a lot, and it's a positive energy vibe. We talk about the book. Nyla loves the book. Of course, she's going to. She talks about you, and it's just such a nice honor to have you on the show. So thank you, actually, taking time out. I know that, funnily enough, before this, you were stuck on the M25. So hey, M25, ladies and gentlemen, for those around the world, is known as the UK's biggest car park. Okay, and that's a joke because everything always stands still there. But hey, Khush managed to join us just in time, so thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. So I did want to say I really appreciate, just putting the book together. So Naila found Naila in a WhatsApp group. Naila had mentioned me in there. And it was at that time I was thinking of putting together a book and getting contributors to share remedies, because you know what it's like when you're putting together a book and you've got how many remedies? 112 remedies, and the last thing you want to do is just write remedy after remedy. So I thought if we share them between us, everybody will bring their energy, their passion, and that's how we shared it out, and it worked out really, really well. I did feel like a bit of a monster sometimes, saying, okay, can somebody redo this, can somebody edit this? But I think it's just, it shows everybody's passion that's gone into the book. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible at all. It would have taken years and years. And I'm sure at one point I would have just thought, I can't do this, because it's been a lot of work. It really has. But this way round, having everybody else contribute, it's been so much more enjoyable, because it's different people's energy in the book as well, which is wonderful.
I want to say you've mentioned energy, and I'm also getting goosebumps because I have lived this journey with you. I know those late night messages, those messages, can you please edit this? And then the editor coming back, this doesn't look right, this doesn't fit really well. Okay, these needs to be in bold, these don't have to be in italic. I know that you have given your day and night and every single second of past few months to this book alongside us. It's not easy to actually guide a group of people who are living all around the world,
Yeah.
getting them on board, and a kind of a unified pattern, even though you want to get that energy in the book of that homeopath, but after all, it has to flow in a unified manner. So I have to say it is a wonderful work. It is a wonderful contribution to the homeopathic world. Thank you for doing this, actually.
Ah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I think also, my also plan was actually to have homeopaths that are from different backgrounds, that have trained from practical colleges, classical colleges, Vitucas's school, and that was such a joy because so Attic, we had a WhatsApp group going as well with all the contributors in.
Hmm.
And some were really simple questions, weren't they, Naila? For example, right, is it Nux vom with a capital N and a capital V? Just really simple things. And although they won't matter to the average person who just wants to take a remedy and get well, get over their acute, it was quite, I thought, and it was interesting how everybody had different feedback. What is the
Totally.
correct way to write it? And I think that's my academic head that gets a bit stuck in, getting it right. But and I think that was really helpful in the WhatsApp group, people asking questions. And we did have some laughs. Somebody said, well, what do you really want to, what do we put, poop instead of stool? Don't people know what a stool is? We had some fun as well. But it's true because the goal was, homeopathy can come across a bit out there. So for example, you're talking, you go to a party and you're talking to a nurse or a doctor or somebody who's in the mainstream medical profession, and you talk, you mention homeopathy. Sometimes some people are really open and they're really interested. Other people are like, okay, shall we change the subject now? But I think it is really helpful when we can use that same language And that was sort of the purpose, really, as well of putting the book together, is trying to use a language that people are familiar with. So, how do we use the word miasm is generally in sort of mainstream medicine, it's epigenetics, and these are transferred from family, from generations to generations. But if we say miasm to somebody might think, well, I don't know what you're talking about, and feel a bit ostracized, feel a bit left out. And so, I do love the fact that it is reaching the hands of people that would normally not have a homeopathy book in their home. So we've had some really great feedback about, somebody just mentioned that they took Cantharis for sunburn, and they couldn't believe it, the actual response, because they've never used homeopathy before, but they bought the book because there were somebody had suggested it, and they said, you're going on holiday, this is great. And they always get sunburned no matter how much sun cream they put on. So it's great to hear that, and it just also introduces people to the way homeopathy can be used just for acutes. And I think that's where also my heart is with the new School of Nutritional Medicine, is actually when we train the students, it's about using homeopathy. They're not going to be trained homeopaths. They'll be using homeopathy for acutes, for rapid relief. Because you know what? When we see clients, as they're getting well, they're on their journey, they come to see a practitioner, be it a homeopath, be it not a non-homeopath, a nutritional medicine practitioner, a coach. When they do their acutes as they're healing, what do we do? What do we reach out for? And we know so much now about medications, and especially antibiotics, and the impact on the microbiome. So your clients are getting well, and then they have a return of old symptoms like tonsillitis. And great, we've got rapid relief homeopathy, rather than going for antibiotics. And I was saying that, I say this to the students as well, the more and more we're learning about the microbiome, the connection between the microbiome and that your first brain, so-called the brain in your skull, it's growing faster and faster. And I'm so surprised that even still in this day and age that we're prescribed antibiotics for very minor ailments. Why can't we have rapid relief homeopathy in surgeries? Why can't we have homeopaths sitting in, doctor surgeries or in pharmacists prescribing acutely? So
Yeah. Well, you've said something very, very nice about homeopathy and how people are not aware, but when they are, and they use homeopathy, and it's just this zeal and that's infused in them. And it's interesting as well when you look at remedies, as you know, that let's take, I don't know, we were talking earlier actually with about lecasis, yeah, the surukuku, the bushmaster snake, and we were talking about that. And it's interesting. Let's say an example, and this is just purely for this conversation, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't mean you take it. You have a look first at the indications. But if lecasis is the remedy for a sore throat, right? So the vital force, and there's a vibration. But isn't it amazing? There's so much depth in lecasis that constitutionally, when you go deeper into a patient and you look at the mental emotionals, it also works there. And it's like, well, hang on, how can it work at different layers at different times? It's because it's like a guitar string, right? The vital force. When you go doing, for example, the vibration, the acute vibration is like this, like a ripple in the water when you skim a stone. And as you get further and further into the deeper, that ripple is just, you can just about see it, right? And that's the profound effect of lecasis. So it can go 1 foot, 2 foot, as far as visualization is concerned, or it can go 1,000 meters, or even 10, 20, a million meters. It's amazing, isn't it?
yeah.
That's the power of homeopathy, right? That's the applicability of homeopathy. That's the versatility of homeopathy, and the depth, literally the depth.
I'm just thinking of an example here. For example, we tell our clients, if you have an acute, do come to us, let us know. If a child has an acute, do come to us, let us know, because how they are throwing an acute can actually help us find the chronic remedy for them. A child throwing a belladonna acute, we know, oh, there is a calc layer there. Maybe he needs a remedy that is that is a calc salt. Might not find that picture in the children. It's always difficult to take children's cases because they cannot sometimes tell us their symptoms. But looking at the acute and giving them that remedy in that acute phase can lead us to deeper layers. It's always very helpful. I have to tell everyone here gets this book, the index is so helpful, even for homeopaths. Like you have an acute, and you just know the name of the acute, let's say bronchitis, bruises, concussion, and just go there and look at the remedies. Oh, why didn't I think of that remedy? Okay, this patient needs that remedy. 5 minutes. If you're a homeopath, the case is solved. You have helped someone just by looking at the index, and it is really, really easy to navigate through. It's nice words, easy words, everyday words, no fancy medical words.
Mm.
Anyone can use it.
And and it's interesting you say that, Naila, because when we trained, I remember learning about clams and I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, I really struggled. By the end of year one, I didn't know whether I was going to continue or not. But what's really interesting is when you actually use, even looking at the, one of the homeopaths who bought the book, she said, Kush, I'm really classically trained and we didn't really learn how to use remedies for acutes. So she was saying that she goes, I know them really well constitutionally, but when there's acute, it's just like she was trained to give the constitution when they have an acute. And she said, but now that, she said it's so much easier to understand how to use acutes. But what I find fascinating is that not only is it the acute that you're looking at, but sometimes, so we had one of our students actually took Medorrhinum. She kept getting reoccurring urinary tract infections. And she took Medorrhinum because she just worked it out. And from taking the Medorrhinum, she's never had them again. So, of course, that's worked at some other level as well because they've never come back. It wasn't just the acute that was worked on. And yet normally we're quite scared about recommending, NOSOs. But number of times I've used NOSOs for acutes, I couldn't even tell you because tuberculinum, so common for
That reminds me, I was thinking about tuberculinum, that one of my patients, I knew the constitutional remedy, giving the constitutional remedy, but came up with a very bad ear infection.
Yeah.
And that at that time, tuberculinum has like opened up everyone from their family to homeopathy because it was rapid. The change was rapid because acute is something where we can actually prove that homeopathy works, and it works brilliantly, amazingly, because you see the results immediately. It's
Yeah.
that very instant. It helped or it didn't help.
And the thing is, acutes have a purpose, right? They have a purpose. They're not just there because the body's bored and thinking, okay, what do I do now? It's 7 p.m. on a Saturday evening. The body's doing it for a reason. And I think that's also really important, is that I think people that think sometimes acutes, oh, they're about if you're getting acutes, you're not well. And there's a belief also with some practitioners that if you don't have a cold or a flu in the last 10 years, it's great. That means you're healthy, that you're really robust. But, acutes are a way of the body kind of clearing out, whatever it's clearing out, whether it's toxins, whether it's stuff from the past. It's so important. And that's why, the passion was there to put it together with a team of homeopaths, but something that is actually usable by people who've never used homeopathy before. And that is actually what it's doing, which is wonderful because it's just trying to say that this isn't something that's, it's energy medicine, it's vibrational medicine, it's a medicine that is being proved. The Homeopathic Research Institute is fantastic, and that, I wish I could go to one of their conferences that they hold in Greece, but there's so much research that's coming out. So when people say, oh, there's no research, and I just send them the HRI website links. I think, well, have a look. There's plenty there that you can read up on to show that actually there is proof to show that it works. It's just we're not using the tools that we need to use for homeopathy. We're using the tools that we're using for medicine that has pharmacological doses, which is very different. Very different.
There
And
is, there is,
it's used on plants, and it's used on newborn children, and it's used on animals, and they don't just have a placebo effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
now, if you're wondering, for those listening in to this show, on whether we are promoting Khush Mark's book, then I would say, yes, we absolutely are, and please go and buy it. But anyway, moving on swiftly. As far as homeopathy is concerned, it's interesting, isn't it, that we're talking about acutes and how it can actually change people's mindset. I know just we were talking about cantharis and sunburn. And there are so many other remedies like bee stings. We can talk about apis, and we can talk about sun headaches and natmur and sol and so many others, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? Because it's not about a quick fix, the culture that sadly we're in, generally around the world. It's about the fact that it's a quick fix with no toxicity, no side effects. It's at home, it's in your comfort. There's no fear. There's no time wastage running here, running there, making all those phone calls that we need to. Oh, please help me. Oh, this has happened, that's happened. It's just like saying, oh, okay, this has happened.
Yeah.
I think Nyla mentioned belladonna, right? So we talk about belladonna. It's like, okay, fever, restlessness, agitated, anger, maybe redness. Belladonna. There you go. And it's all calm, isn't it, after that? Because you know what's going to happen. Second, third time it's going to happen because the fever is normal, okay? Like you mentioned about the immune system. It's so important that calm comes in and you don't panic and you don't fear and you don't waste that time running around asking for help because you know. So what is homeopathy? One of the things homeopathy is a form of empowerment in one's own healthcare for everyday acutes. And that's, come on, that's Kush saying something, isn't it? That's brilliant, right?
Yeah. And to even, the other reason for the book was one is because some of the students were saying, is there a book that's easy to read? The second one was when I've got I've got two boys, one's 22 years old now and one's 18. And you know what, becoming a new mom, and oh my goodness, they were the worst teethers ever. They did fevers that were like, they really were, the acutes were really challenging. And I had the kit, I had all the kind of books, I'd have them on the bed when it's in the middle of the night and they're doing a fever or they're screaming with an ear pain. And I've got all these books around me. And I just think, okay, is it this one? Is it this one? And then I'm trying to repertorize because by then I was also studying homeopathy. And I thought, what book? I just want one book, where I can just go to that book and not have all these books around me. Just know, pull out, look up fevers. And maybe it might not be in that fever section, but you can do the clams. And that was the other goal is that, when you are a mother, when you're even a practitioner, but especially a mum, and it's the middle of the night, or you get anxious and you think you've child's got a hot, in inverted commas, high fever. And I'm not saying if your child's got a very high fever, don't go to A&E. Okay, we're being responsible. But child's got a highish fever, they're delusional, they're seeing dogs, or they're seeing ghosts. We've got remedies, and some mothers are absolutely petrified when their children have fevers and they're delusional. They're seeing things because they think, oh my goodness, they're going to have a seizure. But it makes you also a more calmer and more empowered parent. So not just a practitioner, but a parent as well.
Mm.
So what you're saying, Attic, I think it would be wonderful if every family had like a kit in their home, homeopathic kit, be Ainsworth, Helios, wherever, whoever, whichever homeopathic pharmacy. And they're all mentioned. We've mentioned pharmacies in the book as well. So where they can get kits from. But I think it is really helpful to know. And also, we're not suppressing. We're allowing the body to actually heal. We're just giving information to the body, call it like a text message. Allow that text message to, then you wait for the body to give you back a text message and then say, right, am I repeating this or am I just waiting? And it's just, I'll never forget my boys have done so many acutes and I can write a whole book on their acutes, but I'll never forget that one acute when I was in clinic and I'm on my way home. And David messaged me, my husband. He said, okay, Indy is beside himself with pain. He's got another migraine and he just wants you. And he's quite angry and he just wants you. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I said, just give him some water. And once I get home, I'll we'll work it out. And he's upstairs lying on my bed and he's got all his clothes off apart from his underwear and he's kind of really agitated and he's burning and he's got this migraine. He's just fix it. And he's tossing and turning and he knows that in inverted commas, mum will fix it for some reason. And I was thinking, and he looked glassy. I thought it's belladonna and he's acting like belladonna. I put one pill because I took out my kit. I only had one pill left in the vial. Took out that one pill, put it in a glass of water, stirred it with a teaspoon, gave him a teaspoon of the water, and I'm sitting next to him. And then as I'm sitting next to him, I can feel the heat dissipate in one teaspoon. Okay. And I mean, already by then I'm a homeopath. I'm coming back from clinic. I've seen clients, but it still amazed me. I'm sitting there, and then I put my hand on his back, and he's fine. He's not screaming, "I leave me alone." And his back is literally, I can feel cool down. Now
Mm.
that,
Hmm.
what you say? And for him, he fell asleep. And that was it. I said to David, just leave him. We'll go and, let's have dinner with the little one. And an hour later, wakes up, comes down, says, wants food.
It's
Exactly.
brilliant. In fact, that reminds me, Naila, do you share that the incident on holiday with the child? Maybe I think you gave
The Okubaka one.
okubaka or carbo veg. There was two maybe that you shared.
I've had I have 4 kids, so I have quite a lot of those incidents. But at this time, I'm actually thinking about my son. He had COVID, and he didn't want to have the light on. He was just lying with his face towards the wall, and didn't want to be disturbed. Well, I said, that sounds like Bryonia. He doesn't want to listen to anyone. He's facing towards the wall and doesn't want to be disturbed, doesn't want the light on. Just gave him Bryonia. 10 minutes later, he was downstairs sitting with us eating.
It really
So
is just
amazing.
it's
And
absolutely
I
phenomenal, isn't
can
it?
count, like, just
Yeah.
like you, I can count how many times I have given homeopathy, like those. We all mothers know that cry at night, 1 o'clock. They were playing outside, 1 a.m., they just cry. And if you don't have aconite at that time beside you, you will just go and grab it. Otherwise, you will have to run to A&E, or the child is coming up with something that's
Yeah.
going to be there for 1 week.
Yeah. I remember when we had and again, we definitely tell, give so many examples, but we had the school fair, and my little one was then in, like, I was carrying him in a hugger-bug, and he's in this cloth thing, and he was screaming the place down. And one of the trustees at the school was a homeopath. And she said, Kush, I know what he needs. And he's just beside himself, screaming the place down. And she said, and so she went home, and it ran the corner from the school, and she made him colosynthesis, put it in his mouth. Oh my goodness. I said to her, I said, why don't we know about this? He then, he just calmed down within a few minutes. And it sounds like we're making this up, because it does feel like that, but it's true. Even the stories in the book, they're real stories. There's only one story that's not real, because it's taken from one of the homeopathic books, but all the stories in the book are real experiences. They're not made up, they're real. So people can relate to real life experiences.
Mm.
The one I put of Lycopodium, the visit to, it was in Africa. And I remember that client just constipated from flying, from traveling. And I thought it was so Lycopodium. But these stories, we can tell, I'm sure so many people can tell these stories from using homeopathy for acutes. But I think the goal is trying to say, right, why don't more and more people use it in their home, in their practice? I mean, you don't have to be, and I'm again very passionate about this. You don't have to be a homeopath to use homeopathy. This
Yeah.
is like, you don't have to be a doctor to use Vicks Vapor Rub. It's just, I don't understand why there is this kind of idea of you have to have that training. Because what's the worst that you can do? Unless you're taking belladonna, for 10 years every day, okay, maybe you might
If you
start
can give
improving.
if you can give paracetamol, if you can give Tylenol, you can absolutely give homeopathy as well. You're capable enough of dosing that. You are much more capable to dose homeopathy. And I
Yeah,
love the word empowerment, because I think we as mothers, if we can do something to help our kids, if we can do something to help anyone in our family, we actually feel empowered. Dads, they feel empowered, like they have something, they have a tool that can help their family members. You go
yeah,
to any, you go to any, on your way to any, just try those remedies. And
yeah,
you have beautifully laid out this. Just have to look at, okay, this ailment, these remedies, just go to these chapters. Maybe there's 3 or 4 or 5 remedies listed under one ailment, and just quickly go through them, or just look at the bolds. That is so nicely made. The bolds, the keynotes are bold. They can go to them, look at them. Okay, this speaks to me, this doesn't speak to me. All done.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, again, that as you're talking, Neil, it reminded me of one of the students, she's qualified now, but her husband had a gout attack. And of course, he was very pro the coaching, the nutritional medicine, all fab, science grounded, all okay with that. But this other thing that she was doing with the rapid relief homeopathy and the module, he was just like, nah. But when he had his gout, and she worked it out. She said, she gave him colchicum, which is also, the medication, right? We have the same medicine as well for gout. It literally worked within an hour, and he was struggling to walk. His gout was that bad. And she said, ever since then, he's never once said, okay, this is hocus pocus. And it was again the experience of him experiencing for himself. And yet he was absolutely fine with the nutritional medicine, absolutely fine with the coaching side. But it was what is it with the white sugar pills? Thought, should we just turn them into big capsules? Would they be more acceptable that way? I don't know, because it's the size. I think it's the size of this little white sugar pill.
Yeah, and you know what? What even trumps even that is what's really really funny is in fact we were having this conversation as well. Is I've had patients and they've said in the past or even currently that you give them something, they're happy to take whatever it is conventionally, big capsules, the blue pill or the red pill, it's a matrix scene, blah blah blah, right? They're happy to do whatever they want. Whatever Morpheus says has got to be right, okay? Yeah. That was a very deep meaning there, for those of you pondering. But anyway, what Morpheus says is okay, yeah? Or the oracle has spoken, yeah? As soon as you give him a little white pill, it's like, oh my God, what is this? And it's like, it's arnica.
What is in there?
Oh, yeah, let me check, let me ask AI, let me ask, the big G, let me find out. And oh my God, but this got this, and this is like, well, hang on a minute. Have you read the small print, matey, on what you're taking already?
Yeah.
And you're taking like 20 of them, red, green, orange. It's all the colors of the rainbow times 2, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and actually what's really, and do you know, in a way, because I come from that background, I spent years in a laboratory researching, doing the statistical analysis and all these experiments. In a way, I can see that apprehension why between, taking this white sugar pill versus something that's a bigger size pill. But if you think about it, with paracetamol, some of these medications, and we teach this at the school, some of these medications, actually, they're called drug-induced nutrient depletion.
Yes.
That means the medication depletes certain nutrients. And for example, paracetamol, it uses up glutathione. So when our clients, our patients, our children, our babies, we're giving them paracetamol, are we actually thinking, right, their glutathione is depleting, we need to increase their particular food intake to increase that their body makes more glutathione? You have low glutathione, you're more prone to illnesses, you're more prone to conditions like cancer. So we don't question things like that, but we will question a white little pill.
Yeah.
That's right, absolutely. But hey, Khush, good times. Times are changing,
Yeah.
and things are only going to go better. It's the second largest system of medicine on this planet. I only say this planet because, hey, as
That's why we know
there's
that.
still what's the word in Star Trek? It's to boldly go. So we haven't boldly gone anywhere else at the moment, which
Well,
actually
maybe.
reminds me of the moon landing. But hey, I'm no conspiracist theory. Let's not even go there. Okay, going off on tangent. Let's come back to the show. But did it really happen though? Hey, which pill did he take? Anyway, going back to homeopathy, I actually have a question for my co-host, the contributor, one of the contributors to your book. So, Naila, I have a question for you. How
Thank
was
you
it?
for the question.
How was this is weird, isn't it? How was it contributing to the book? I already know the answer, but for the listeners around the world.
So I tell you what, I got a message from Khush. She wanted to talk to me about something. I was like, I ran to my husband. You know what? This woman, I'm such a big fan, and she's messaging me. She wants to talk. By that time, I already agreed. Whatever she's going to say, I'm going to say yes.
Oh my God.
I'm going to say yes to it. We talked on the phone. I don't even remember. 30 minutes. I seriously don't remember. She was on a walk. And I was writing it down, taking nice notes. Yes, 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 yes to everything. And she asked me, think about it and let me know if you want to do anything. I was like, do I have to think about it? No, I'm not thinking. I'm just doing it.
Brilliant.
And
And
that's nail it. That's your great that attitude, I'm just going to go for it. And you're in your final year of studies, you've got all your you've got all that going on, and you went for it, which was great because at one point, Attic, I did, saying to Naila, I said, "Oh my gosh, the rubrics." Somebody else said, "Just don't put the rubrics in." I'm putting the rubrics in because we do use FATEX rubric. We use the
Mm.
FATEX repertory at the school, and I love that repertory because I just feel that every single remedy for that rubric in FATEX book is clinically proven, and that's again me going back into my clinically proven remedies, and that if that remedy's in that rubric, it works for that rubric.
it
And
works.
so we had this sort of back and forth. Well, how do you do, rubrics, and how do you write them? Is that bold? Is that like it? It got a bit complicated at one point. Then we just thought, no, just keep it simple. So that,
The modalities. Oh, I remember that.
yes,
Yeah,
modalities, absolutely.
modalities. Yeah, I remember that. It was a pleasure. Seriously. But there is one more thing to the book. I have to mention that. Because the purpose of the book was not to make Khush rich. There is a big, deep purpose behind it, and I'm a purpose-driven person. And I would love you to mention the purpose. That is why all the homeopaths, we're not getting rich by the book. We are doing it for a big cause.
Yeah, thank you, Naila, actually, that I because I know that what it's for, but I forget to share that, but that's a really good point. So Atik, when I reached out to everybody, all the contributors, I said, well, it will the money's all going towards a school clinic. So the thing is, the one thing that in nutritional medicine, the functional tests can be quite expensive. So when we run the school clinic, is I'd love to be able to pay towards the functional tests for some of the clients that come in for the school clinic and where the students learn. And that was one of the goals is how can we raise money for that clinic? And everybody, all the contributors were like, great, fine. So they contributed their time, and then re-editing and doing the remedies again or tweaking them, and nobody batted an eyelid, which is wonderful because nobody
Mm.
they thought, great, it's going for a good cause. And that was wonderful too. So if anybody who purchases the book, that's where their money is going. It's not going to any private jet for, to fly to Hawaii or anything like that, or to the moon.
No, it's
Oh,
extremely admirable, and congratulations on that, actually, but to both of you, Naila for contributing, but along with your friend Kester Wong, we must
Kester.
mention.
I wanted to mention Kester
Yeah.
as well. Kester is part of our team as well. She's a wonderful
Okay.
homeopath, wonderful person, and she has also contributed to the book alongside all the beautiful people that I met throughout this journey.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Kush, where can people buy Rapid Relief Homeopathy from?
Yes, so if
Not
they
on
go,
Amazon. It's not on Amazon.
yes. So we're not selling it on Amazon. I have yeah, that's another story for another time. But this is for,
No comment.
no, thank you. It's they can buy it from the new School of Nutritional Medicine's website. So there's a section which is for the book, and yeah, and then we also say if anybody wants to buy, so if any practitioners or anybody wants to buy it in bulk, so somebody's in Ireland or in the US, we can send it in bulk, and then we can send people who want to buy it in America to them to sell it on. So yeah,
Wonderful. Wonderful indeed. And in fact, for those listening to the show, if you just look back on our Instagram account, which is at like_treats, and you'll see in the I was going to mention Nyla's Instagram. Are you ready for this?
Homeopathy in practice as well.
Yeah, and at homeopathy in practice. And Nyla, I think you should read your one out. It might work better.
It's the homeopath with Nyla with so many dots in there,
Yeah,
but the name will be listed.
yeah. You'll
And
see the
this
book. You'll
podcast
see
as
the
well.
book cover, and you'll see like an overview of what's included in the book. So do have a look. And hey, don't delay. Get the book today and sort out your acutes most certainly. And I think you'll find it very inspiring. And I have to say again, Khush, because you did speak about the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and whether it's a capital N or a capital V. The book is well thought out of. I'm very, very super observant. So I know how much time has gone in to even the selection of the paper and the size of the book and the quality of the book, and
Thank you.
how it's not possible to actually damage the text on the book because of the very fine film covering the paper. That's how observant I actually am. Okay.
Wow.
So,
And the
right,
colors of the pages and the
yeah,
remedies, which remedy, which color, and how to make it, and all the amazing things like
yeah.
the
And
keynote, the first page you can just look at and frame it and put it on
yeah.
your walls.
And it's a really, really big, and it's a big book, and it's really heavy, which is actually goes down actually to the quality. So do have a look and refine your, or should I say, empower yourselves with that knowledge. But thank you, Khush, and I'm going to hand it over to Nyla to sort of end today's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. But from me, certainly, absolute honor to have you on.
And thank you both. I really appreciate your time as well. Thank
It
you.
was such a beautiful time. Just spending this time with you was such a delight for me. It was just meeting your idol and interviewing them, sharing a journey with them. It was I'm absolutely humbled and thankful to you for being part of our show. It was a beautiful time we spent together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for
You're
being
welcome. You're welcome.
I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Please do support the show by clicking follow on my socials. Remember, the more exposure the podcast receives, the better for homeopathy around the world. You can find me on Instagram by searching for @like_treatslike, and on both Facebook and TikTok by searching for @like_treatslike. So let's promote the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcast around the world together. Don't forget to visit me online at www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast tab. Here you'll be able to see all the guests that have joined me on the show so far, and of course you can stream on demand the latest episode to your mobile, tablet or PC. Until next time, stay safe and take care.